All right, thank you for tuning in to 26 Sports. This is your host, Mike Rether. And today we got a great panel of the greatest minds in boxing social media at the moment. Because I'm sorry, the rest of you guys on media that you guys claim to be are fucking garbage. So, besides that, let's get into it as we're going to go through the uh, recap of the first 3 months, the first quarter of the year in boxing. And we've had some crazy moments for the first 3 months, and this weekend brought us a lot. So first, I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll go from there. So first, to my left, go ahead, Nayka.
Hi, it's Nayka with Nayka, and I do slap people. Have a good day.
Nancy.
Oh, there we go. I don't know. I don't know
We
how to follow up with
okay.
that. uh, my name's Nancy, and I'm with Boxing Republic, and I have not slapped anybody as of yet. But we'll share that. I'm working on a nonprofit, so hoping to provide some financial education to teens that are in the juvenile system. So I appreciate everybody's support on this journey, and thanks for having me on.
No problem. And then Gray, go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Famous over here. What happened to your audio? Can't hear you. Mm-mm. Hold on. No. Let's see. That says everybody's on. We could hear you earlier, not now.
Probably
Sign
gotta
out and
log
come
out and
back
log
in.
back in
Yeah,
then.
yeah. All right, go ahead, Carlos.
Well, my name is Carlos Toro. If you don't know me, I mean, I'm not sure if I would qualify what Mike would call the greatest minds out there in this panel, but thank you for having me on.
Yep. And then last but not least, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Boog Williams off of Twitter. Y'all can find me on my YouTube channel, L Does Boxing. Just here to talk some boxing with you guys, and what I'm saying, I appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. And again, Greg, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there
For the
you
love of
go.
God. Okay, sorry. Boxrec Grey. Follow me at that name. Apparently, my mic sucks. Editor for Boxrec. Fully responsible for all the rankings, apparently. And yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, yeah, when I say greatest minds, it's because we're some of the most unbiased people that I could say has to do with boxing. As you know, some people wear their biases on online as quickly
Yeah.
as you can see. So that's why I say it. But first, let's start off with this past weekend, man. There was a lot of cards this weekend. The Zone had a good little card. We had ESPN with Burchelt getting absolutely scorched, to put it nicely. The U.S. debut of Tim Tszyu and Terrell Gachet, it was a pretty decent fight. So let's start with Carlos, man. What was your feelings over the weekend?
I thought that overall were pretty exciting in their own ways. I don't think anyone would expect Josh Warrington to be uh, as aggressive as he was. I thought Tim Tszyu, his U.S. debut, was a very successful one, and I think we learned a lot about Tim as a fighter up to that point. Because I think that those that had seen him had maybe a different idea of where he stands, and I think the fight against Terrell was a bit of a revelation as to where he really is right now
Yeah.
compared to the top of the 154-pound division. And man, kudos to Jeremiah Nakatila. I mean, he had the best performance of the weekend, and I think it's fair to say no one expected Nakatila to, fight this well, let alone actually win. And he didn't just, beat Miguel Berta. He just dominated him in a way that not even Oscar Valdez
Yeah.
did back in January last year.
Yeah. So, speaking of that one, Boog, you were actually out there at the Burchell Nakatila fight. So, how did you feel seeing it, and what did you see that surprised you about that?
I felt like Burchett, he didn't have his legs from the beginning of the fight, and he was getting hit with a lot of big shots. I know the jab hurt him and dropped him, but it was other shots that was hurting him too. And just for the overall undercard with the young fighters like Heaven Brady Jr. and then Carvalho, they didn't look too good in their return back to the ring. But it was a good card. It was fun. I like the atmosphere. And salute to Nakathia because that was a big victory for him.
Definitely was. And Nancy, how did you see it on those fights over the weekend?
Yeah. So, on Nakatilia, I guess I want to take a step back a bit because, I'm hearing that he had, just this phenomenal performance. And I think it was a good performance. I wouldn't go past that because he was against someone that was just really not performing and not performing to what we know their best is, right? So I didn't see anything that stood out to me from Nakatilia where I can say, oh, great footwork, just opinion. Like he was a good fighter and it was a good fight for him, but nothing that was like, oh my gosh, he's the next best thing. No. And I think that, we do contribute some of, what showed as Nakatilia's highlight due to, Burchett not performing as we knew he should, so that's just kind of my view on that. And it was not just disappointing, but pretty sad to see, but it was just so apparent that he was in there, fighting with that shadow of the last fight. And he was being, so that he wasn't, I think, using what we knew, he has in his toolbox. So, in terms of that, that's just my thoughts on that fight in particular. And Zoo took his knockdown and his loss and the way he reacted to it. Nayka, we've talked in the past, just how fighters handle I'm sorry, not the loss, but the knockdown, right? And those types of moments in their career. And hats off because he handled it the way that I would like most, to handle it. So
Okay, so Nancy came in as a Russian judge about Nakatilia, so that's okay. And maybe what was something that surprised you about the fights?
Can you still hear me, first of all? Are we still good?
yes, we're good.
All right. So the card I probably watched the closest, as in my eyes were on it the most, was the Showtime card because I'm a big Tim Tszyu fan. I was definitely having a heart attack in the first round as a Tim Tszyu fan, as he honored his father by getting dropped in the first round, and he lost the second round. And I thought he did a really nice job after that. He couldn't Gaucher really. I had heard he took this fight very seriously. He had a great training camp, and I thought for Gaucher it showed. I mean, he was in great shape, even though he didn't really win too many rounds after the first two. I still thought it was a very competitive fight, but I think Tim Tszyu did a really nice job with his footwork. I thought he did a nice job cutting off the ring. That his stamina was really impressive. Again, considering he got dropped early, the output was still strong, and I think Gaucher is so crafty. He was never really going to get him out of there, but Tszyu has that power that kind of gets you to be a little timid, I think, and not take too many risks. And I think Gaucher, that's why he fought kind of with his back on the ropes, covered up for most of the fight. I think he didn't really like getting hit too often with some of those uppercuts. And it was sort of like power that kind of kept him at bay. I thought the fight was a little bit wider than that 114, 113 card, but I was okay with maybe, 115, 112, 116, 111. I think he's got a little bit to work on if he's going to win a world championship. Is he, beat the top three guys in the division? Like, I don't know if he's quite there yet, but I think he clearly cemented himself as a top 10 fighter. On the undercard, we saw Michelle Rivera take care of business against Joseph Adorno. I wasn't surprised with that one at all. I think they're both, they were guys at two different points in their careers. I think Adorno is a prospect that wasn't really panning out, and I think that's why Top Rank let him go, and that's how he ended up on this PBC show. And Rivera is knocking on the door of the top 10 right now. So I like what I see from Rivera. I see a lot of improvement. He's got good hand speed. I don't know if he's going to have the power to really get guys out of there in the top 10 necessarily, but he's definitely a crafty boxer, man. And Elvis Rodriguez beating that guy from Argentina, Velasco. I forgot for a second what his last name was. I was pretty impressed with that. I saw a lot of improvement from Rodriguez. I think a lot of us were hyping him heavily, and then after that loss, and then again Top Rank releasing him. I think there was a lot of, it went from pretty fast, but I think he recovered pretty nicely on Saturday. He should have gotten the knockout, and he did. I liked what I saw from him. I think you can tell he's putting the work in the gym and fixing a lot of his flaws. So is he ready for the top 10? No, but he looks like a guy that definitely is getting better and not getting worse. So yeah, it was a fun card all around. And Burchelt was shocking, man. I had it on my second monitor and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He just never ever looked like he was in the fight at all. And again, if you listen to Nakatalia all week, he was saying, don't count me out. Like he really talked a big game, and to his credit, he backed it up, and he's a legitimate player now at lightweight. And that guy that just beat Lee Selby as well from Argentina was like 28 and up.
That was a beatdown.
Yeah, that guy as well. I mean, these are guys that we weren't even talking about last week, and all of a sudden now you have two new names in the top 15 at 135, and a lot of these guys don't like to fight each other in that division. So I think you might see Nakatalia getting a nice little fat paycheck. So good for it. But a fun weekend.
Yeah. So you said you didn't really agree with the 114, 113 card.
Nah, just a little. I think it was a little wider. But
a questionable scorecard in Boxing Grey. Come on now. When does that happen?
I mean, it wasn't like the worst scorecard, but my eyebrow was raised a little. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And then Nayka,
it seems like we're wondering about the scorecards every single week, even with the correct decision.
Exactly. Yeah. And Nayka now, Burchelt, and Nakatalia won.
Well, I've been trying to take a break from Twitter. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you sound good.
So so the Burchelt and not good. It was just like Burchelt looked that bad. He from the first round he looked like Bambi trying to get his stance in the ring. Yep. Like someone that just trying to learn how to walk. That's how he looked coming out. So I was just like, he's missing something. Like he don't look right. So I once I seen him walk out and like trying to stand there, looked like he couldn't even bend his knees. His legs were locked. I was like, this is not gonna last long. No. So I'm not, Nakatalia did good, but I'm not gonna like praise him because I just feel like Burchelt just
was
really that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and then the other fights. What was the fight? I had my comment ready to go. I'm drinking. Like Josue Vargas should not have won that fight. I'm sorry. I don't.
No, he won because he got bit. They should have stopped the fight when homeboy bit him.
Yeah. Well, it should have been a disqualified funeral when he got knocked out. So yeah, I don't know about Vargas. I'm not sold on him. Yeah.
And
so it was an interesting weekend of boxing.
Definitely, and we'll get into this with Vargas because I got another name to mention in their next fight. So first, we're going to talk about who do you think stood out over this first quarter of boxing in these first 3 months. To me, right now, I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of hard because there were some performances that I was like, okay, there you go. Personally, and I might be a little biased on this one, I'm gonna go with Chocolatito because I feel like the guy that he fought and the way that he performed, he made a world champion look like a up and coming prospect who got pushed too soon. Like that's how dominant he was in his fight. So to me, Chocolatito probably has the best performance so far. I guess if I'm gonna give other ones, probably Lee Wood, who was supposed to win. But Nayka, I'm gonna go with you. Who do you think showed up the best so far?
I think
I watched that fight very late at night.
Yes, we did.
Way too late on the East Coast. But I was very proud of Kenshiro.
Yep.
After beating his opponent who had stopped.
Yep.
If you lost the first fight, you usually don't win the rematch. But he not only won, but he knocked that guy out in 3 rounds to get his belt back. It seems like he's getting his life back together. So I'm going 108 pounds. Kenshiro.
Okay.
Good job, buddy.
Carlos, so you said that was going to be your pick?
Sorry, you can pick Kenshiro too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go in a different direction. One person I did not point out in the sort of last time. I want to give a shout out to Ebony Bridges, who had a tremendous performance this past weekend on. You mean
I'm just cracking my neck.
What was that?
She's packing her knife.
I'm just cracking my neck.
No, but go
Okay.
ahead.
But yeah, no, Ebony, she showed a lot of grit and, gave us another entertaining performance. She's finally a world champion and shown that she can hang some unification fights. And I think that's really going to give a lot of shine to the women's 118-pound division, which, I'm really glad because the last 6 months or so, there's been a lot of divisions in women's boxing that's been getting a lot more shine in, outside of the divisions where we have the big names like Katie Taylor at 135, 140. They're having that tournament to crown an undisputed champion. 147, obviously, you got Jessica McCaskill on top. Clarissa Shields is back in the ring, setting up that fight with Savannah Marshall. So it's Ebony being a world champion, I think it's great for women's boxing. Now we got next month the Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor fight. So it's it's been a good time for women's boxing right now, and it's certainly getting better.
Okay, all right. And Nancy, so I think I heard who you said who's your star.
Bam. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think hands down for me, it's Bam. I mean, he just put on such a great performance. And then the story behind it all, right? Just like how, you hear Robert tell me and just say, I said, let's do it. He has it. He's got it. And it was a great fight. He put on just an excellent display, of his skills. So that to me is hands down. And I think for the quarter, something that I'm liking, as we're wrapping up the first quarter and perhaps thinking into it was the year of the heavyweight, right? Because we just had some really great fights and there was just a lot going on, in those bigger divisions. And we're kicking off 2022 with, the smaller weight class, really putting on a show. So, I continue to see, more coming out. We've talked about, some of these divisions having and I'm a big Chocolatito fan, but having, the more seasoned fighters, the horizon, that transition, I'm not trying to get rid of anybody. So don't y'all start talking, but just kind of that transition. We're seeing a lot of the younger talent. I mean, it happens, if every, couple years as you have this with these weight classes, and we're starting to see it in the smaller. So that's pretty exciting because, the smaller ones are the fun fights for me, action packed, lots of punches. So.
And Boog, who's would you say was your fighter of the first 3 months that had the best performance?
I'm gonna go with Louis Neri. I like how he came back from that knockout loss to Brandon Figueroa, and that was a tough defeat. You know what I'm saying? He a former world champion. He had some issues with weight, and he looked good against Carlos Castro. He dropped him in the first round and outboxed him for the rest of the fight. So that was kind of an underrated type of performance, and he got overlooked because nobody as well because we got Fulton and Roman coming up. We still got Raif Salim and a lot of good other fighters. MJ versus Rio, so he can fit in right along with those guys. So it's good to see him back. So that'd be mine.
Okay, and now we talked about Josue Vargas and the performance he put up that was not up to par. That's the second month in a row now that we've seen a fighter coming off a loss and come back with a terrible performance. We're gonna be honest. Gabriel Flores for me was the first one. I was there. That was.
Yeah.
The same way you said, Nayka, you don't think that Josue won? I don't think Gabriel won. Gabriel was lucky in that fight that he didn't fight another Venado Lopez because this guy put the same pressure on him but didn't have the power, and he was still getting to him. So that's the second fighter that needed to be humbled who still won his comeback fight and is still kind of, talking a little bit like he's there and he's not in that spot that we now are that people had put him up.
Carlos picked because,
I know you're gonna talk.
I'm always browsing Twitter and I see things. And I saw somebody tweet because I guess Susie Q Ramadan, she tweeted some things about Ebony Bridge. The juicier stuff are in the threads when you go into the threads. And then some guy decided to say, what a bitter tweet. He was talking to Susie Q. Ebony Bridges has done more to raise the profile of women's boxing than anyone. No, I'm always browsing Twitter and I see things. And I saw somebody tweet because I guess Susie Q Ramadan, she tweeted some things about Ebony Bridges, saying that she won't fight her, and into the threads. And then some guy decided to say, what a bitter tweet. He was talking to Susie Q. Ebony Bridges has done more to raise the profile of women's boxing than anyone. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
That's a huge stretch.
That's a leap.
We know that's not true.
She has done more to raise the profile of women's boxing than anyone.
It's because
that's a Stretch Armstrong type of stretch.
He thinks that Ebony's gonna read it, send him a DM naked or something, and he thinks that's what's gonna happen.
And get him some free sweaty socks. It's like, really, buddy?
Yeah, exactly. That's a horny tweet. That's all it is.
That's a horny tweet.
If I ever saw a reach, that was definitely a reach.
That's beyond a reach. That's terrible.
We had a horny scorecard in that fight, and there's a horny tweet for that fight.
Yeah,
exactly. I've never seen somebody though. I will say, me and Ebony are cool. I congratulated her, but just, I didn't go post it for the world to see. I just thought, hey, congratulations. But I've never seen one fighter get so many congratulations within 2 minutes of winning a fight as I seen for her. The timeline just exploded.
But to be honest, I wish you guys could read the thread, because
I did. I seen that.
Susie Ramadan is the one who had accused her of being on steroids and stuff like that, like using performance enhancing drugs and stuff like that. So that's why I was like really into that thread, because I was like, I knew there was going to be some juicy stuff in there. And then someone else posted another juicy receipt in there saying that this fight that she had now was planned like 2 years ago. So they've been fast tracking her to get this fight. So that's why her last fight that she had, which she really didn't win, they gave to her because they had this fight planned out for her. And there are receipts in there of like text messages between Ebony and this lady, and it's posted in this thread. I'll send it in a DM so you can see the thread. But it makes sense of why they gave her the win last fight when she really didn't win that fight.
She comes from bodybuilding too, right? So that's probably where a lot of those suspicions are from, I imagine.
Yeah, she was a bodybuilder back in the day.
Yeah, but Susie had stated that her trainer I guess she was supposed to fight her, and her trainer said she wouldn't be able to fight because she didn't know that they would be testing for performance enhancing drugs, and I don't know where this fight was going to be done at.
I think they're both from Australia, right?
That's where
it would have been in Australia.
Yeah, they're both from Australia, so it would have been back then.
Yeah, so she didn't know that they were going to test, so she didn't take the fight. She didn't want to fight. And this came from the trainer. She said, well, Ebony didn't know that they were going to be testing and this and that. So I don't really, one would assume that why wouldn't you take a fight because you didn't know they were going to do testing? Like,
it's got to cycle off, man.
Susie was spilling all the beans. Yeah, exactly. So
why didn't Pacquiao want to take the Mayweather fight the first time? Because he was scared of needles, even though he had tattoos.
But he's scared of his percentages in his bloodstream. Got to get that back to normal. Come on.
I think at some point it has to cross their minds just what I mean.
It's like,
hadn't fought in a year.
Yeah, that's and Nayka, that's exactly what I mean, because you want to take all those things into consideration, right? When you are managing the individual and you're looking to put, match the person, like perhaps after this, because it's been the past several fights, not to take away the fact, I mean, she won the fight, right? But let's take a step back as a team and really think about the next opponent and how we want to make sure that we perform, and showcase in that next performance, because this isn't good either,
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that she lost her 4 out of first 5 fights and she had no knockouts, she was 39. I was just like, I mean, come on. She should have won this fight. So
she lost the title. She lost the non-title fight pretty recently to Melissa Parker too. So it was sort of like
exactly.
She still had she's still the champion. Like really weird. Like you could
boxing
kind of call it a cherry pick. To be honest, it was for the picking, right time, right place to get that title. So I kind of agree. with what you're saying, Nancy. Like, I feel like subsequently she's going to need to make good title defenses to, at least in my eyes, to gain more credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, this lady didn't have no knockouts. She already lost. Like, come on, come on.
They come with that in mind, you know, that hey, I still need to work. But I think that she is at a level can be more selective, where you can put your team to work a little bit more, right? Put some elbow grease into like the matchup and the negotiations, so that we're not having conversations like this about her, right? You just a thought.
Yeah. Well, definitely.
Yeah.
But what fight is this? This is like her fourth fight,
Who, Ebony?
right? Fourth or
No, I
fifth
think
fight.
she's like at 10 or 11 now, right?
I think she's like 8-1.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. Well, close to 10
Oh,
fights.
okay.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
But
But for the people that she was fighting were like, their records were like.
the only one I think that
Look
had
up
a
their
good
records.
record was
Look up their records.
Shannon
The
Courtney,
only
right?
one was Shani Courtney, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think they're going to probably, and I imagine
the rest of
they're
them,
going to have a rematch.
They should have a
You know.
rematch
they should. Yeah,
Yeah.
they should.
because that was a good
Yeah,
fight.
definitely should.
Question will be if Shannon's
but
going to come in on weight.
With a giant knee brace on, you
With
know.
the knee brace, is she going to be on her period as she alleged she was during the fight? She came out with so many excuses after losing. Oh man, that was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
That was a rough. That was not.
Yeah,
not
I
a
was
good
like,
fight.
man, people give Wilder and all this, and this girl came out with like 15 excuses to lose the fight.
I know, like, and she
Speaking of that,
And yeah,
did you guys see the little interview that Teofimo and
Oh
his
my God,
father
man.
did? The little clips. He's been a very horrible sore loser. Horrible sore loser.
I laughed at how he
I
said
wish you
the
could play
zone
clips
set
of
it up.
areas.
How he said the zone set it up so that he would lose, and then Haney is fighting on ESPN.
Would be
Top
fighting.
rank.
And-
yeah.
and so damaging. Like, that's so damaging. You know, as let's talk about, you know, the father. We know he's vocal. We know he's, you know, there's so many fighters that have, you know, the father in the corner, father on the team, and the father super vocal, right? We can name a few, I'm sure. And okay,
Kendall Garcia.
you know, I will even step in and say, all right, you know, as a parent, yeah, you're your kid's best advocate. All right. But then you as a fighter, right? I think that you really need to like have some self-awareness, you know, on the words coming out of your mouth, and how then that looks at you. Because, you know, for example, you have, you know, Danny Garcia, not that I'm this huge fan, you know, his dad is very vocal, but, you know, we seldom hear Danny kind of speak and echo kind of the words that his dad, you know, said. And in this situation, it's the same. I mean, it's exactly what his dad would be. And I just feel like, you know, he's really got to have some self-awareness, especially with, you know, what's transpired over the past 12 months, what we know he's trying to get done. Saying what he's saying isn't helping.
Yeah. No, yeah,
I just find it very funny that everything that he called Wilder being a bitch for, he's doing. He's doing the same exact thing that he said that Wilder was doing. Actually, even worse.
Yeah.
Worse, yeah.
So it's,
Look where he is now and where Devin Haney is. Devin Haney Stadium, and Teofimo, we don't know when he's coming back, and he's probably going to fight in a marijuana-heavy MSG theater against, you know, whoever, and it's, you know, maybe 4,000 people will be there. Hope so, but like, you know, one guy's fighting for the, you know, undisputed championship in the stadium, other guy's fighting in front of a lot of high people in New York. So, you know, I'm just saying. You know.
And I like him too. You know, I really like him. I think he's a great fighter. But there's just a lot going on. You know, there's a lot going on, and I think someone needs to take control. Whoever is on payroll, whose job is supposed to do that, like, so something needs to give, man. Because even the decisions, you know, wasn't he the one that signed up for Triller, and then all that, you know, fell through? I think a better analysis of that business proposition could have been made.
Right? He was basically, he was basically broke, like, coming into the Kambosos fight. Like, yeah, and like I just, someone's got to sit him down and be like, way longer than you want, and that's not good. So it just seems like a guy that's just on a bad trajectory right now, and I hope he finds a good place for himself mentally. But right now, it's
the
not
support.
happening.
Well, it's the support, man. It's like the who are you surrounding yourself with? Because people are getting paid.
Yeah.
You know, there's people on his payroll, and do admire about Robert Garcia and his team is that I know Robert always pushes his fighters, you know, to be thoughtful, to think through things, even just like, you know, where you're spending your money. Make sure you get a house first. Make sure you know, establish yourself, set that foundation. And it's still do what you want, but just some of that guidance, you know, and maybe it's there, but from what the fans see, we, you know, we see something completely different. But I am rooting for him because I do like him as a fighter. It's just the stuff that's going on outside the ring, you know, that I think is really affecting him.
Definitely, yeah, that is true. So
I don't like his new personality. I hate it. I'm sorry. I don't like it.
And it's crazy because he was already on kind of that real high of himself kind of attitude and talk, and then he had his kid, and you would think maybe that would have slowed him down and made him rethink things. And I say it because I know a few fighters who actually say once they had a kid, it switched their life. You know, I had David Benavidez on last weekend, and that's the first thing he told me when I asked him about it. He said that it completely changed him, like, right then and there. So
he was on that I beat Loma high, you know? Yeah. So he beat Loma, and that cocky attitude was so disgusting.
Yeah, girl, he did get on that.
I was low-key...
But you know what?
Low-key a little bit happy when he lost, because I was like, oh, his attitude was disgusting.
His dad, honestly...
The way he handled it.
His dad instilled in him that forever. Like, there's people that I've talked to. I met Teofimo when he was 4 or 5-0, and his dad was standing there talking to somebody else, and then they introduced me, and he tells me, "Oh, what do you do? Oh, you cover boxing? That's cool." And I go, "Yeah, I'm, you know, watching this fight." He goes, "Oh, they're all bums. My son's the best. He's the best fighter in the world right now, at 5-0." And I was like, and I'm gonna be honest, it was I think I was watching an eliminator, the 135 or 140 eliminator. And there were two good fighters. I can't even remember. I was a little intoxicated, but it was a good fight. So I'm thinking, like, they're bums, but you're here. Your son, at that time, yeah, he had a couple of nice highlight knockouts early in his career, but it's like, damn, when he got to his victory with Loma, it was like, yeah, I'm the best. And I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah, well, his dad was telling him that since he was like 2 years old, so I see it.
Yeah, there's a way, and I guess I should have prefaced my comment that I like him is as, you know, his skill set as a fighter and in the ring, right? So with perhaps some of the shenanigans, you know, outside, not too much, you know, not too much of a fan, but I think like I said, it's just about who he's surrounding him with. I remember watching a live for, I don't even remember whose fight, and you know, they just kind of caught him talking to him. It was like a PBC fight, and he talked about like how he prepares for interviews and how he goes over things, and I was kind of impressed by some of what he said. And it's like, okay, well, we've seen none of that.
He bamboozled
like we've seen none of that. We've seen none of that, and he talked about like just
Yeah.
Any man that still does a flip after he lost, the end thing. Like once I saw him do his backflip in the ring after he lost that fight, I was like, oh yeah, he lost it.
So speaking of flips, you mentioned Josh Warrington. Man, if you ain't gonna do a real flip, don't do shit, dude. That was horrible. I don't know what the hell celebration that was, but no.
I think fighters need to find something else better to do than flip.
That he looked like an old man that just got pushed over or something. Man, that was terrible.
He was happy. I give him a pass. He was happy.
Hey, I could win elevating the new number one at 130.
Oh, who is the new number one at 130? I didn't even
probably
look
Shakur.
yet.
I'm gonna guess.
Yes, it is Shakur. Yes,
of course that came from Vivi. Of course that came from Vivi.
Yeah.
Like, that's Shakur's biggest fan.
I was like thinking about. I was thinking about the two. I'm like, you get points if your last, you know, from 2 or 3 fights ago, if your opponent that you beat ends up doing well subsequently, you get more points. So I was like, yeah, Shakur's gonna get bumped for that one. So yeah, that's.
Oh wow, we lost Nancy in the corner there. Hopefully she pops back on. So before, this will be the last couple parts here. Which fight over the next, we'll say 3 months up till June, July, are you guys looking the most forward to? I'm gonna start with you, Boog, because I know you're probably gonna be at a lot of these fights. Because I know I'm gonna be out there next weekend as well. So, which one are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to Charlo Castano Part 2. I love the first fight. I know it had a lot of controversy at the end of it, but it was a good fight, 50-50. And I think both guys can improve. I know Charlo, he hurt Castano in that fight a couple of times, so that's something Castano can work on coming off an injury. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a fun fight, and I love the undercard with Boots and
Yep.
Clayton. So that's a fight I'm looking forward to the most.
Okay, and I'm gonna give you my prediction: Charlo in 6. Straight,
Okay.
I'm calling that right now. I'm calling that right now.
Let's get it.
Nayka, which one are you looking forward to over the next few months?
I'm excited for the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight.
There we go, finally.
Even though I'm not a big Shakur fan, I'm excited to see that and Valdez, him and Valdez. Also the Ugas and the Spence one, because something is telling me we're gonna see a lot of meltdowns on Twitter. I don't know. There's something in my gut. But I also want to point out that, Ugas is training right now, but somehow he found a way to make the slapping situation about alopecia about himself.
Of course he did.
He tweeted a whole paragraph about alopecia and how he's like, I'm like, this had nothing to do with you, my guy. Nothing to do with you. But he took time out of his training to make this long, drawn-out tweet like he always does and made it about
Magic
himself.
wins.
I'm like, wow.
Oh, if he wins, I'm shutting him. I'm muting him on Twitter.
He's probably going to ask Twitter to extend his characters in this.
Full paragraph essays. Just
Gray, which fights are you looking forward to coming up?
I am looking forward to the large boy Sebastian Fundora and Erickson Lubin in 2 weeks from now. Let's go, isn't it? Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
Let's go. Just the height differential is going to be magnificent to watch. And it's really Fundora's final test to see if he's ready for the big boys. And I think Shakur and Valdez, just two different styles in there. I'm looking forward to that one as well. So, yeah, it's my top 2.
All right. Nancy, which ones are you looking forward to?
Yeah, definitely excited to see, Spence get back in there. So I want to see that fight. I agree with Nayka. I think it's going to be, a good fight. I think it'll be a good exchange. But, overall, it's just, nice that we just have all these fights. I even think I might be getting this wrong, but Pitbull's in that undercard, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, that's going to be a good card as well. But it's just nice to see that, the third quarter's kicking off with lots of boxing in April.
Yeah. And Carlos, what's your picks?
So, all those picks are good, and I probably would have gone with any of them, but here's sort of one that's not a lot of people are kind of talking about. I am really excited for Triple G versus Ryota Murata. I think if the version of Murata that, got his revenge win against Rob Brandt a couple of years ago shows up against Gennady Golovkin, and, Golovkin is sort of, past his prime right now. We don't know where he sort of stands after the long layoff. This could be a potentially great fight. In my opinion, it's been a fight that I've been a fan of for a long time and hoping to get that done. And it's finally happening in a big crowd in Japan. And the undercard, I think it's one of the sneaky good ones of the year so far. Masayuki Ito, who last saw fight Jamel Herring. He's in a good fight against Yuichiro Yoshino, and then Junto Nakatani, who's a phenomenal flyweight defending his WBO title against Ryota Yamauchi. I think that's this year. So I think to me that is an event I am really looking forward to.
Yeah, that's good. And you know what? All of you guys gave out good ones. Kind of shocked though, man. You guys missed my boys. Danny Roman and Stephen Fulton. How is he not up there? That's my fight. I love the whole list, but that's my fight. I've been Fulton's biggest fan for years, and I've been Roman's biggest fan for years. So I love this fight. I hate that they're fighting each other because I'm a fan of both, but I just love the style. There's no way this fight is not going to be great. I can't wait to see that one. Serrano and Katie Taylor. I think Serrano's going to show up and show out and dominate Katie Taylor. I really do. I think she is going to dominate Katie Taylor in this fight. Lubin.
We also have Canelo.
Yeah, and that's a good fight, but that just tells you how good these next few months are. Is that he's fighting, and it's a good fighter he's fighting, and we didn't mention him in the top 5 of the fights that we're looking forward to.
It's not in the top 5. That's why.
And it's crazy because it's not a terrible fight because Bivol a legit fighter, but it's just the Katie Taylor and Serrano fight, Lubin and Fundora. I can't wait. Just Lubin, if he's gonna make his mark and show that he's fully back from that loss to Charlo, it's here. And if Fundora is gonna show that he's that guy that people think he could be, it's here. And they're both chinny. Well, Fundora hasn't been dropped, but he gets hit a lot, and Lubin hits like a damn truck. But Lubin's been dropped and wobbled before.
Exactly.
So I can't wait.
Yep. We also have Mel Charlo and the Castaño rematch, right?
Yeah, Boog talked about that one. Yeah.
I think. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yep. Yeah. So with that, Boots on that undercard.
Oh, Boots and Castillo Clayton.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah, that's
right.
really good.
Which is a pretty good fight on paper, in my.
Only this one, and it's crazy if you think Fury and White still got their
come
fight.
out and say why Rolly versus Tank? Why gotta
popping in and out?
I refuse to go to Brooklyn for that. I will not get on the train. I will not do it. I don't give it. I don't care. No.
There's a couple of fights on the Spence card that I like.
Yeah.
Butea versus Stanley. I think the whole card is good.
That whole setup for that card is perfect. The free portion
and last year, I feel like last year we were getting a bunch of dud cards. Like it was like pay $80 and you get nothing. Like it was pretty bad. It is nice to start seeing that again in the spirit of the conversation, how we're kicking off the year, that we're starting to see that the co-mains and just the cards are better, right? So hopefully they listen to boxing fans complaining about some of these cards we were getting.
I think it was the New Year's Day pay-per-view that we had with all the heavyweights that really kept us on a good path this year. I
agree with that.
That wasn't a terrible card, honestly.
That was a wild fight.
Yes.
I was sitting there going, "Is Louis Ortiz's knee is it just exploded?" And then you thought, like, is this
and then Charles Martin is having a conversation with the crowd mid-fight.
He's just talking, and then he gets laid out. It was the wildest thing, and I'm like,
his arm getting stuck and almost broken. Like, shit, man.
Yeah, his arm is. It was like that card had no excuse to be that good, and it was. So it was a really good card. Yes. Like there was that undercard fight with the Ukrainian and the guy from and they were just like knocking. There's like 7 knockdowns or something. I was like, this is on a good vibes. Like this has been a good 3 months, and we've had some pretty lousy years of boxing. Yes. We had to sit there, so I'm feeling good, man. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I'm pretty I'm pretty pumped. I feel like this is our first year, since COVID that we're gonna get a full year of boxing finally. Yeah. It's no less cancellations, just less murky issues. So I'm happy about it.
Yeah, Nayka, I hate you for what you said though. Don't bring that little.
I was just wanting to see everybody's reaction to it, and I got exactly what I was looking for.
I love Tank, man, but that other guy, whatever.
Yeah.
But see,
persona non grata.
But what do you guys have to say about those subliminal tweets that Tank was putting out about they put him in this fight because that's his last fight on the contract with Mayweather Promotions. He had a lot to say.
How bad would Twitter blow up if he signs with Top Rank?
If Rolly, well, I don't think he will because he outed somebody. He outed like exchanges on there.
But
I'm just like,
poor Derek Carmen.
I don't see that happening.
Derek Carmen tonight.
Just random. But how bad would it explode if that's let's not say he even signs with him, but takes a fight against Loma, Haney, somebody from Top Rank at 135, I think Twitter would absolutely melt down, and I'd be here for it. I would love to see it.
It would be so shocking. I really don't see it happening, but that would be insane.
Yeah.
I think he would sign with Golden Boy before he does that shit.
Yeah, I just don't think he's going anywhere. He shouldn't, in my opinion.
They've brought him up to a great spot. They've honestly, I mean, you could question maybe the fights that he's had, if anything, but they've promoted him to a star level of a fighter.
No, how many guys can draw in multiple cities in boxing? Exactly. Not many.
And sell out.
And sellouts. You can count on one hand. So it's pretty impressive what they've done with him.
Yeah, so I mean,
he's obviously ready to go. I feel like the tweets that he put out, he's probably asking his lawyers and people, is this my last fight on this contract? He's ready.
I think he honestly is probably tired of hearing of the people question him. That he's probably like, I'm gonna find your favorite fighter and I'm gonna go whoop his ass just so you guys quit questioning if I'm good or not. I just feel like that's how he is.
For a fee, of course, but he'll do it.
Of course, but yeah. Gray, we missed your boy King Rai as he returns next week. I know you're pumped for that one.
It's on my birthday.
I can't believe that he grifted DAZN into paying for that fight. Fantastic. Cannot wait. If DAZN deserves it for paying for that, but complete unknown guy, honestly. But yeah, I mean, I get it in a way. They have to see, where he's at.
Yeah. Maybe unknown he is that even Gray is like, who? Because Gray knows every boxer out there.
He was like a guy. I know Lou DiBella signed him. They brought him from Ghana, and he's. I'll give you an idea. He went to a majority decision win against one of those guys that Tiafimo knocked out in like 10 seconds, and he did the little Fortnite dance. So that's the quality of opponent.
That's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. But there again, April's filled. We talked about Triple G and Murata. We talked about this Garcia's fight. Michaela Mayer returns next week with actually a pretty solid undercard as well. The Maloney brothers, Venado Lopez we just talked about. So it's a pretty big. I think every week this month is going to have a card, correct?
Pretty much. Yep. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's going
to
be stacked. By the way,
go ahead. Oh, we forgot to mention Freshawn Cruz DAZN versus Ilya
on the 30, right?
Undisputed. That's another big fight.
Yep,
Undisputed championship. Absolutely.
Yeah, Freshawn. Hopefully she gets that win. But yeah, see, that's a packed month of fights, and of course, being that as boxing guys, we get weekends back to back of pay-per-view. So have that pocketbook ready. The 16th and 23rd.
I know, right? I'm okay if they continue to give us what we want and at least give us nice co-main, nice undercards, to kind of give us our pennies worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Marlene's on the one.
Marlene.
Marlene.
On April 9th. I hope maybe she can do what Sulem couldn't do. Yeah.
I knew you were gonna say that. She gonna beat that 40-year-old grandmother.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember watching that fight going, Nayka was cackling right now.
Nayka was texting me during that fight.
Because I was like, that fight was set up for Sulem to win, and did not happen. So now you got a unification. Good for that lady from Japan getting another payday.
Yeah. Kudos to you, lady, putting on for us 40 and over.
Fujioka.
Yeah, especially, good for you.
Yeah, especially against someone that I was not willing to win. So.
See what you started, Gray?
So maybe Marlene can do the job.
Yeah. But and then there's other fights. I know Sanisa's supposed to come back, I think May or June.
Yep.
We're going to get Josh Franco and Guy.
I'm really you know what? I forgot about that. I'm looking forward to that one as well. It'd be great for both brothers to have just a outstanding year.
Yep, so that's going to be a big fight in those lower weight classes as well. As we've talked about, the one that's really started off the year on fire and looks like they're going to keep it all the way through. And then I know Carlos loves the idea of Chocolatito and Nayka because he's always talking about Nayka. So that fight possibly going to be done at some point this year. I know Carlos probably just got all excited at the thought of that one.
Well, I mean, look, I think that it's really goes to show how deep this 115 pound never had their unification fight because COVID just kind of messed things up over there in Japan. And I think it was more of an excitement that Kazuto Yoga is finally getting a big fight after that, I thought was a tremendous performance against Kosei Tanaka a couple of years ago. And, and then the subsequent title defense, I think, was Francisco Rodriguez, also in Japan, which, to follow up, to have to have those two fights and then not get one of those other champion because of COVID, it's a real darn shame. So I hope Kazuto Yoka just gets his title unification fight against any of the champions sometime this year or next year.
I'm going to T-sip here. I'm glad Jerwin's on the outside looking in. Sorry, buddy, but you were holding that title, not doing a whole lot with it, so I don't feel bad that you lost it. Just saying.
Gosh, the pettiness.
Hey, Mike, we've talked about the fighters and everything. We're looking forward. We're looking forward to what the fighters are bringing. It'll be interesting to see what kind of business moves happen, what promoters do or don't do. We're already seeing the news with regards to Mayweather, right? And the breakup there. So it'll just be interesting, what we see this year out of the promoters because they entertain as well, right? What kind of year is Oscar going to have?
Who's
what's
fighting
Eddie
a weird
going to be
exhibition?
bringing? Who's right? Right.
Last year, we want some more weird exhibitions, guys. Fingers crossed.
Well, they're working on the Will Smith Chris Rock rematch, so
but we're also entertained by the the promoters and the whole business of it. So
yeah, we definitely are. I mean, it's boxing, and as we've said, we love it, but what do we say on our Friday night sometimes? We're degenerates when it comes to it. As much as it hurts us, we're still here. So
I know.
But
yeah, that's true.
It's paid us back this year to start off, and it looks like it might continue to do so. So I'm happy. So, man, I want to thank all you guys for coming on. I know it was a little late for some of you. Me and Boog were over here on the West Coast, so we're still living good. But the rest of you,
this worked out great.
But thank you guys all.
Yeah,
for
it's like
coming
7:30 over there. You guys.
Yeah, I still got a basketball game to watch right now, so I'm living good. But
hey, Gray, I live in Victorville, home of Ryan Garcia, so I got you covered.
Nice,
fantastic.
Oh,
I love
man.
it.
Yeah, we go. So before we go, everybody, go ahead, let everybody know where to follow you at, and we'll be out. So Nayka, go ahead and start first.
You can follow me on YouTube and Knockouts with Nayka. On Twitter, it's boxing_bird81. You can catch myself and Nancy on Wednesdays on In the Ring with Christine's YouTube channel. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Nancy with Boxing Republic. So as Nayka mentioned, catch us every Wednesday in the Ring with Christine. Our girl's in Ecuador. She's in Continentals right now. So she's globe-trotting, and she's joining us on Wednesdays, or we're joining her on Wednesdays. She's still on and putting on the show on Wednesdays. So please join us. Tomorrow I'll be on with a HCP and D-Style. So, join us as well. And I would say follow me. I'm Boxing Republic on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And thank you so much for the invite. The panels I had, so much fun, and I want to apologize for the technical difficulties there. But the time works great, man. So it's perfect for me. I think you and I talked about that. Yeah. With all the stuff going on.
Me on Twitter at BOXRECGREY, Boxrec Grey. I have a podcast that gets updated very infrequently, unprofessional boxing podcast, but once in a while. But yeah, thanks again for having me. Go to Boxrec, log in, it's free.
Carlos?
You can follow me on Twitter at Carlos for Media, YouTube, and I do have a
and I talked about that. With all the stuff going on. So thank you.
No problem. And great.
Thanks for having me on, Mike. You can follow me on Twitter at BOXRECGREY, Boxrec Grey. I have a podcast that gets updated very infrequently, Unprofessional Boxing